How are you?
I am well. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Thanks for asking.
Yes,
Want to
ma'am.
welcome everybody to Tea Time with Dr. Tarver. It is time for the tea, and we're so excited. This February, we restarted the live series, backed by popular demand. Relationships is, of course, the most common thing people request from me, and so I thought it fitting to bring back some of my ringers in. Dr. Cook, why don't you introduce yourself to the
Well, good,
people?
good evening, everyone. I am Dr. Sean Cook, health right from right here in Georgia, Atlanta, to be specific. Let's see here. I am a Christian counselor, have been doing this for this is 2025. Maybe about 12 to 14 years, like professionally, that counts. Um, Counsel people from all over the world, specialize in relationships and individual counseling, with a biblical focus or a biblical tether, I should say. So it's centered around biblical principles, not necessarily limited to, but definitely everything springs from that particular foundation. Enjoy helping people, enjoy inspiring and motivating people to do what they do best, which is be themselves and who God called them to be. I am a
Yeah.
serial motivator. And so you spend enough time with me, you're going to feel a little bit better about yourself. And so I'm glad to be here. Um, I think that's about it that's going to be relevant for this particular podcast. If I start
I
talking,
think that's good stuff.
yeah, if I start
That's good
talking,
stuff.
we'll waste time on that. So,
We won't do that because we want to
yeah,
be good stewards of
exactly.
the people time.
We'll
So
stay
we
focused.
want,
Yeah.
yeah, we want. So thank you for that
Mhm.
introduction. Of course, I'm Dr. Tarver. We are laying the foundation for parenting and partnership in this episode in the series of getting the relationships you deserve. And
Mhm.
so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to launch right in because we want to be mindful that we can pack a lot in. So
Okay.
we're going to go ahead and get going. So we've talked this month about dating and marriage, and I wanted to end this series tonight to talk about what parenting looks like in that. Like, how do we navigate the parenting relationship as well as the spousal relationship part of that? So let's kick it off first, talking about, like, just tell the people some good healthy strategies about being a loving parent and raising some healthy, well-adjusted children out here. What would you say are the things that are important for you?
Okay, I want to start by saying, as a overarching banner for our theme tonight, that the Bible says, "Train up a child in the way that they will go, and when they get old, they will not depart from it." Training is not just about what you show, excuse me, not just about what you see, but or what is said, but it's also about what is seen. It's not just about what's spoken, but also about what is shown. It's not just about what is heard, but also what is about or what is observed. And so
Mhm.
it's important that we keep that in mind because every facet of what it is that you display in front of these kids is going to be training for them as they grow up. As we start talking about just healthy dynamics, you have to remember that a partnership is only as strong as the people that are
Mm,
involved in it. So before we start
mhm.
talking about us together, we have to talk about you as an individual.
All right,
And
all right.
as an individual, it's important that you are emotionally self-aware, that you have a stable balance and a stable mindset, and that you are secure
Mhm.
within yourself so that you can then join with someone else to accomplish whatever goal that you set out. And so I'm going to basically, wherever we land on this, I'm going to dance around three particular things. So I don't want to
Okay.
dance around three particular things. We have to understand communication, we have to understand collaboration, and we have to understand compromise. Got
The
to
three
communicate.
C's.
Yep, got to communicate, got to
Mhm.
collaborate, got to compromise. Those three things are very important. Um, Hopping right in, communication, of course, you've got to learn to be open. We have to be transparent. My wife and I have done like several small groups. It's one of the things I do when I do a lot of marriage workshops and relationships and different things of that nature. I'm huge on an open marriage. That's
Mm.
usually how I started out on having an open marriage. Dr. T, you should see the eyes
I was
and
about to say they'd be like, open your
oh my God,
folk.
you should see the eyebrow raises when I start the introduction to this and I start out talking about an open marriage because people's mind immediately start thinking about extracurricular activities,
Right, all the
parties in a
stuff.
relationship,
Yeah.
swings, and all of that type of thing that they're
Mm,
into. And I'm more so talking about the fact that in the beginning, the Bible says that Adam and Eve were both naked and not ashamed. They were naked
Ooh,
and
that's
not
those are two of my favorite words, naked and
exactly naked.
unashamed.
Listen,
Mm,
I've been on that for I don't know how long. I mean, decades at this point. They were naked and not ashamed, which meant
mm-hmm,
that they didn't have any secrets. They didn't have
mm,
any shame. They
mm,
didn't carry any baggage. They didn't hide
mm,
anything from each other, and
mm.
they kept it open always.
Okay, good.
Oftentimes, we have the need, or we feel the need, to cover up things that we're ashamed of or that we hide.
Mm,
And we have to learn that if there's any place that you're going to want to practice openness, it's going to be with your partner because it's designed that we be open, that we be naked, and that we be not ashamed. And so in communicating, you want to make sure that you keep that balance. You want to make sure
mm-hmm,
that dynamic. You want to set that as a part of your culture. That's going to be the most important thing because your parenting is only going to be as strong as your partnership, and your partnership is only going to be as strong as the person that you choose to present to each other. And so
ooh, that's a
that,
word. That's a
that
word right there, Dr. Cook. You might need to sit in that one for a minute.
sitting there for me. I'll let it
That
rest for a second, let it rest,
mm-hmm,
sit
mm-hmm,
for a
mm-hmm,
little bit, because it's
mm-hmm,
only going to be as strong as the person that's involved. So your
mm,
parent is going to be as strong as your partnership, and that partnership is only going to be as strong as the person that you present to the relationship. It's
mm,
important that we learn to have just basic conversations. I'm
mm-hmm.
not even at the point to where I'm talking about planning and preparing and talking about the type of parent that you want to be because Dr. T, you know yourself, if we start talking about parenthood, which we won't have time tonight, there are different parenting styles,
Absolutely.
different family dynamics
Mm-hmm,
you're bringing to
mm-hmm,
the table, and all of us have been trained in some way how to do family, and we've
mm-hmm,
been trained, whether it be directly or indirectly, on how to do parenting.
mm-hmm,
Some of our training may have been healthy, some of it was unhealthy. Some of the training was good, some of the training was bad. Why? Because no human on earth is perfect. And so we have to learn to have conversations that we often take for granted. I need to understand the culture of the house that you grew up in. But before I can understand the culture of the house that you grew up in, I need to first make sure I understand the culture of the house that
Come
I
on, sir. First know thyself.
exactly, because listen, we have to be able to communicate these particular things amongst each other. I've got to
Mm-hmm,
be able to tell you what I found beneficial in my house and what I found burdensome in my home. I need to hear from you what you thought was
mm-hmm,
beneficial and burdensome in your home. And then maybe we can lay these two platters out and begin to pick from each of them. What role is very
mm-hmm,
important in your house?
mm-hmm,
Do you have freedom of speech in your home? Were you
mm-hmm,
with an iron fist or a soft hand?
mm-hmm.
These things are important. There are things that we do not talk about until we
Yeah,
have a kid and it
right.
comes up in an adverse situation when you want
Mm-hmm,
to pop little Johnny and she does not, or when she wants to send little Debbie to the room and you
mm-hmm,
not. That's when we start to have these problems. But
mm-hmm.
we need to start very early communicating, not
Okay.
the desires, not
Mm-hmm,
what we want to see forward, but we need to
mm-hmm.
start back
That
and
first C,
up.
communication.
People not only need to understand who you are. I am huge on motive, Dr. T. I am
Okay.
huge on motive. God looks at the heart while man is looking at the outward appearance. And
Mm-hmm,
sometimes we want God to get people who did a bad thing with a good intention. What I mean,
mm,
they may have taken made a choice to go left when everybody
mm-hmm,
else would have gone right. We're like, God gonna get them for that, but He's not because their motive was correct in going this way. They just made the wrong choice. And a lot of times,
mm-hmm,
I see people presenting certain things. My wife come in the house and she hollering and just making a lot of noise. I have to first try to uncover why it is that she feels the way
mm-hmm.
she does, instead of just punching back at her.
Right.
Let me understand where this
Yeah. This is coming from somewhere. Every behavior has a purpose.
it does. Every behavior
Mm-hmm,
has a purpose and it always has a root. Something
mm-hmm,
hurt,
mm-hmm,
hurt this, something kicked this out, something initiated.
mm-hmm,
And so it's important that we not only know who we are, but why we are who we are
mm-hmm,
and how we
mm-hmm,
are. Because the who that you are is going to blend, not just biologically via DNA and experience,
mm-hmm,
but also via example and social modeling into this kid. And so we have to be able to understand the dynamics of who we are. And this is what
mm-hmm.
happens in communication. I get to understand why Sean doesn't like stuff on his hands. You know what I'm saying? I can't, it's
Mm-hmm.
a nervous tick. I don't do ribs that are messy and different things like
Mm,
gotta, it's just a thing.
mhm, yeah, just the touch
Because
sensations.
exactly.
Mhm,
But if you
mhm.
don't know that, you might think something's wrong with me if you
Yeah,
see me
like, okay,
like,
like, why you keep
yeah, all right,
playing with your
exactly.
fingers? You on the spectrum? What you got going on?
Exactly, exactly.
Mhm,
That's kind of where you're
mhm,
gonna go with it. And those are just
mhm,
simple things. I need to understand why you yell when you get excited. I need to
Mm-hmm.
understand why you shut down when you get excited.
Mm.
Because there may
Yeah,
be,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
parenting is going to give you all of the things, not just some of them. But if you have
Yeah.
it long enough, you're going to taste all of the things.
Yes, because
We,
you're gonna see yourself in your child too. You're gonna see
oh,
the patterns of both of you reflected in this little mini human being,
you said
who is gonna reflect it right back on you.
you said something that was very important right here.
Mm,
This is huge. You're going to see you in your kid.
absolutely.
And because you're going to see you and your kid, their triumphs you'll be proud of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Speak
Your
on it, Dr. Cook.
triggers, your triggers,
Mm-hmm.
you'll want to protect and defend.
Mm,
Your
mm-hmm.
trauma, you'll want to
Mm,
protect. You
mm-hmm.
will celebrate with the triumphs when they've
The
got your
victories,
shoulders.
absolutely. Like, oh, you did great job at school.
But
You're amazing.
But when you see your kid sitting in the corner and your spouse or partner looks and said, "Why are you sitting over there like that?" And you were a kid that maybe you were reserved or you were shy, you
Mm-hmm.
didn't like when people, came at you like that. And of
Mm-hmm.
course, little you didn't have the agency to defend themselves. But oh my
Mm-hmm.
God, far be it from me to not protect not only my child,
Mm-hmm.
but
With that little part of me.
the me that
Yeah.
lives my
Mm-hmm.
child. This is
Absolutely.
why it's important to have these conversations so
Mm-hmm.
that these
Mm-hmm.
things can be brought out. Because what happens is we have a tendency to project decisions we regretted on our kids when they're faced
Mm.
with circumstances.
Ooh,
Don't
talk
fool with
now.
me.
Back that one back up, Dr. Cook. Back it up. Back it up. But run that. Roll the beautiful bean footage.
Catch
Say
me,
that one more
catch
time
me.
for people.
You're gonna have to press the button on me. I get going.
You do,
We
and I'm
have a
like, slow down, slow down.
no,
Let them, let them,
that's why
let them
you
live in some stuff.
That's why this your show, and you gonna tell me what to put it. But we have a tendency to want to project the decisions that we regret onto our
Mm,
children.
mm,
The
mm,
experiences that we didn't have, the opportunities that we missed. You know how it is. You could have took state because you played
mm,
ball, didn't. So now Junior's
mm,
gonna play ball, and he's gonna
mm.
take state for both of
Right,
us. You could
right.
have gone pro.
Whether
You could
Junior wants to or not.
or not. You're going to
Mm-hmm,
do this because I'm going to now live my dreams through
mm-hmm,
you.
mm-hmm,
You seem to have a proclivity towards playing sports. We finna play
mm-hmm.
sports, and you're about
Yeah.
to be as great as you can be in
Mm-hmm,
doing that. And so
mm-hmm,
what happens is not only that,
mm,
if you were
mm-hmm,
bullied, you're
mm-hmm,
overprotective of that child.
mm-hmm,
If you were bullied by your parents,
mm-hmm,
you're overprotective of that child. You
mm,
can't be overprotective of that child with your parents, but you can with your partner.
mm,
Talk to them like that.
mm,
Don't say that to them.
mm,
Do this. Why are you
mm,
handling them this way? Why are you doing
mm,
it? What
mm-hmm,
happens is we have a
mm-hmm.
dynamic where one parent looks as though they're too soft,
Yeah.
and the other parent, who may possibly just be enacting discipline, looks
Right.
too stern.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because nobody took the time to make sure that the person that would be
Mm-hmm.
in the partnership was
Mm,
whole before they.
mm. Now, before we, because I this communication piece, and I know Pastor always says y'all gonna get that next week.
Mhm.
There have been so many points you packed in, so I wanna give people an opportunity to really process what you're saying. So if I
Mhm.
recognize, because I might not have realized it until you just said it, oh, so these behaviors I'm responding to are really about the unaddressed wounds I have from childhood that
Mhm.
I'm now projecting onto my child. And by virtue of that, trying to protect little me and them from my partner, who I
Mhm.
have now kind of cast in that light of that parent or whoever that authority figure was in my life. How do I
Mhm.
stop that pattern, Dr. Cook? How
Okay.
do I change the way I'm communicating and heal that little me?
Okay. I do my best to try to talk in sound bites because in this era of social media, that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
remember. Um,
Absolutely.
you can't adjust what you won't address.
My God, today.
You can't address what you
Mm-hmm.
won't acknowledge.
Mm.
And you won't acknowledge what you won't admit.
Mm.
You can't adjust
Mm-hmm.
what you won't address.
All right.
You can't address what you won't acknowledge. and you won't acknowledge what you won't admit.
Mm,
At some point, because when you join with another,
mhm.
a close, intimate relationship, I'm gonna remove the bonds for a moment because I don't want people to excuse themselves from the conversation because they
Right. If they're not married, because this is for
yeah,
any
exactly.
co-parenting dynamic, whether
Right,
you
right.
married or
Exactly.
otherwise.
So I'm gonna say when you have an intimate relationship with another, they have a tendency of carrying around a reflection device called a mirror.
Mm,
And their eyes from the outside looking in, they have an opportunity to challenge us in our behaviors based on their observations. And so here's where, and this is why the communication is important from the start. If I am aware that you have trauma because you were in a verbally abusive family dynamic,
mhm,
if I am aware of that, and this is why it's important to be naked, not ashamed, and also very soft,
mhm,
we're dealing with each other.
mhm,
If I'm aware of that and I can see where that's coming out, it's nothing more than a conversation, and not one that's authoritative or one that's accusatory in nature. Just one that's,
mhm,
"Hey, I've kind of been watching how you've been interacting with little Junior, and I'm
mhm,
curious. It kind of seems as though there may be some moments where this is happening.
mhm,
You're handling them this way, or you're projecting, I know, the mean girls handled you a certain type of way and you were dealt this way by your aunt. Kind of seemed like you're coming off like that. Of course,
mhm,
they may say, no, 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 no. But there's something about word seeds.
mhm.
They tend to germinate long after the conversation is
Yes,
taken.
they do.
And so if they say, no, 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 it's not me, I need you to understand this. Everybody that's listening to me, you are not omniscient.
Mm,
Thus, if a person gives you information that that's not them, because there's a
mm,
certain place that you can't go, which is called in their head, you
mm,
just stand
mhm,
back.
mhm, mhm.
Even if you know that you know that you know,
Yeah.
because you are not them, you don't know. So you have to stand down. The best way to do it is to sew it nicely and leave it there. If those of us that believe in a divine power that influences our behavior, why don't you go
Mhm,
ahead and send a telegram up, a tweet, a note, a DM, whatever, and say, hey, kind of help them see or help one of us
mhm,
see what's
mhm.
really happening. Because it doesn't mean you right just because you see it, because we also have traumas that are lenses that we look through as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But if a person sees this, the key is to first admit, yes, I am doing this. That
Mhm,
admission automatically sets a tension within you that's going to cause a certain emotional response every time you're aware that you're engaging in that behavior.
mhm,
Because you're resetting your brain to say, this is not okay. Metacognition, you're thinking about thinking and you're thinking about what you're doing at the same time.
mhm.
There's something that's not going to let you just continue to do it. Yeah, I'm doing it again. I'm doing it again.
Right, right,
Even if you're
right.
doing it in the middle of it, you're going to feel funny about it. As long as
Mhm,
you continue to do it, you set another wrinkle. You acknowledge it. Once you acknowledge
mhm,
it, you then have to, for lack of a better word, you have to watch over that word until it's fully fulfilled. That's Bible.
mm.
You
That
got to
is
watch over.
biblical.
Which
Mhm,
what you have to do is you have to make sure that you're mindful every time you get ready to have
mhm.
a conversation. You got to say, I'm not going to do it.
Right,
I'm going
right.
to do it. And
Let me
sooner
kind of
or
check that part of
later,
me
and you
that
have
would
to,
typically be on automatic
and
and take it off automatic.
you do, and you got to take
Yeah.
the wheel for a bit.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
know this is the part where what we do, Dr. T, gets fun
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
this is where the work comes in.
Mhm.
You have to
This is
work.
his plug for therapy for those of you that are not
It is.
unfamiliar
It
with the
is.
Tea Time with Dr.
That's
Tarver
what
show.
you
Come on. I see it. I see.
okay, I just want to make sure they saw it. I want to make sure they saw it. So this is where, and sometimes in doing that work, you realize you can't do it by yourself.
Right.
You need somebody to hold you accountable to check in
Mhm.
on a regular basis.
Mhm.
Say, how did it handle when you did with it? And sometimes that person isn't always going to be your partner because a lot of us don't always feel
We
comfortable.
can't receive it from them.
You can't receive
Yeah.
it from the person
Yeah.
closest to you. Sometimes you
Right.
need a little
Uh-huh.
space on it, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And so
Absolutely.
you have to, anytime you're getting ready to adjust a habit that's been living
Mhm.
with you for a while, you have to walk slowly and take each
Mhm.
step as it
Mhm.
comes.
Intentional.
Intentional. And
Mhm.
you have to plan to do things differently. I'm going to think differently. And you have
Mhm.
to be aware so that when you catch yourself moving in that space, you stop it. But
Okay.
you can admit it, and it doesn't
Mhm.
to admit. You can
Mhm.
admit it and acknowledge it. You can then begin to address it. And if you address
Okay.
it properly, consistently, and intentionally,
Mhm.
soon it will adjust.
Okay.
You will
Okay.
find
It
yourself.
is not weakness, Dr. Cook, is what I'm
No,
hearing you say.
no, it's
To
definitely not.
acknowledge like, hey, I don't get it right all the time. And there are some things that I need to heal from so that I can show up and be the type of parent
Yes.
that's a healthier parent that's gonna create a healthy child.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
It is not weakness because at the end of the day, you are trying to present and model
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
best version of you in front of this little person that's watching you. Because
Okay.
in doing so, you are not teaching them to be you,
Mm-hmm.
teaching them the tools that they need to be the best version of themselves.
Yes, sir. Yes,
Because
sir.
our kids are adults longer than their children.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's important that you understand that you're raising somebody that's going to contribute to this society one day.
Mm-hmm.
And how do you want them to come across?
Mm-hmm.
How do you want them to be seen? Do you want them to be poised and strong and self-aware? Those good qualities that you want,
Healthy boundaries.
yeah, you
Mm-hmm.
have to model those things.
Mm-hmm.
And the first way that we do that is we have to be self-aware and understand what our boundaries and things are. And this
Mm-hmm.
comes, going back to it,
Circle
with
back.
communication.
Okay. All right.
Even if
Now
you
we got our one C in. We mindful of the time, so let's get that second C in
let's
there.
run the second one in. I'm gonna move communication out of the way. We've got to be collaborative. We've got
Okay.
to be
Okay.
collaborative. Now, if we're talking about partnership, collaboration means that we're taking two good heads and putting them together to work towards a common goal, a shared goal. For those
Mm-hmm.
that don't know, the goal of communication is not to get your point across, it's to establish shared meaning.
You know I'm gonna back you up.
Yeah,
Go back, back,
you gotta
take it
believe
back.
it. Yeah, you gotta believe
Take it back. Let them hear that again.
it. It's not just to get your point across, it's to
Mm-hmm.
establish shared meaning.
Okay.
I'm huge. I mean, huge on shared meaning.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't nothing more important to me when it comes to relationships than shared meaning.
Mm-hmm.
Because if
Not
you
being right, just so I'm
not being
clear.
right,
Okay.
shared
Okay.
meaning,
Shared
even if
meaning.
we both share the meaning that I'm wrong, we
Right.
still need to
It's
have
still a shared meaning.
we need to have shared meaning.
Okay. Okay.
If I say go to the store and get me some water, and you come back with Deer Park, we're gonna have a problem because I don't like Deer Park. It tastes like
Hmm.
street water to me, and that's a simple example. But what happens is I'm gonna say, "Why you bring the Deer Park back?" Well, you said get some water. We should have known. I meant, nah, you didn't say what kind of
Mm-mm.
water you meant. We don't
Mm.
have shared meaning.
We
You
don't
know
have
I
shared
want
meaning.
water,
Yeah.
but if we
Mm.
have shared meaning, my wife knows. Don't come here with no Deer Park. She
But
aware.
that is because, so let's back it up so the people understand. That
Mm-hmm.
is because I have communicated to my wife. Right? Because I think a lot of times we live in that space of assumptions with our partners
Yep.
and even with our children
Yep.
that they should know
Yep.
when we have not clearly articulated the playbook.
That's another conversation. I'll come back and have that one with you because
Okay.
if I sightsee on that,
Yeah, then yeah, we're
I'm
gonna
gonna
get,
say this
yeah,
real
keep you
quick.
focused. Gotta keep you
I'm gonna say this
focused.
real quick. Because women are from Venus and men are from Mars, y'all have
Mm-hmm.
the ability to pick up on stuff that we don't say.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the biggest frustrations that I have known women or wives or spouses, partners, whatever to have is that women expect men to know things that we
Mm-hmm.
need to tell us. And that's the
Mm-hmm.
biggest frustration because y'all don't really need to be told. Y'all listen, care, catch context,
We do.
stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Man, we just slow.
You just communicate different. It's not that you're slow.
I,
We overthink and overanalyze. It comes in
I,
handy sometimes, but it's problematic other times.
Look, I appreciate the good cop, bad cop we doing right now. See, I'm a man. I can say we slow. I appreciate you coming to defend us.
I'll let you say that as a
That's
brother,
what
but
I'm
I'm
saying. I
not gonna.
appreciate
This is
Dr. Ken
the
saying
views
men
of Dr. Cook are
are
not
Dr. Cook, quote, said men are
right,
slow. I
right.
said that. Dr. Ken
Dr.
said it.
Tarver
I
did
did.
not
Yeah.
say that
He just
y'all are
said
slow men.
it's a safe space for y'all men, Dr. Ken. I said that. I'm the one that said I'm a man, so I know. We ain't got good sense. And anytime you find a man that knows how to handle it, he's been trained by a woman in his life somewhere. It's either his
Mm,
mom, his aunt, his sister, first wife, girlfriend he really loves. Somebody's taught him. You're gonna have to start listening a little bit different.
yeah,
But
pay attention. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
he's
Mm-hmm.
been trained to do
Mm-hmm.
it. You
Mm-hmm.
don't just wake up and do that. We
Mm-hmm. Not
but
naturally.
yeah,
Yeah.
not natural.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have that gift. We
Yeah,
don't
we wake up and do that. We don't
have
want
that.
to, but we can't help it.
You have that gift. We
Yeah,
don't have it.
yeah.
We don't have it, and that's
Mm-hmm.
admitted. I got plenty of case studies to
To
support that.
back that up, you got
Plenty
receipts.
of them to back that up. Plenty of them to back it up. But needless to say, moving collaboration. Once we've communicated, I know your strengths, you know mine.
Mm-hmm.
I know where your weaknesses are, you know mine. Remember, We're talking about all the things because we're naked and not ashamed.
And
You know
unashamed.
areas I'm strong in, you know areas I'm weak in, you know things that I know well, you know things that I don't know so well. I celebrate the things that you know, and we support the things that you don't know as much. But the one thing that we don't do because we don't compete, we compliment, is we don't
Oh, oh,
shame each
I'm gonna back you up.
other. You know,
Say it one more time,
yeah.
Dr. Cook.
We don't compete, we
Mm,
compliment.
yeah.
We shouldn't be in we got the same last name. Why we fighting?
Mm,
And if
mm.
we
And
don't
this
have
and the
same,
same shared goal as a parent that we want to raise this healthy little human.
yep.
So
And if we
we
don't,
are not at if we know that that is our basic foundation.
yep. Why are we fighting?
Why are we fighting?
And so the key here is to work together to accomplish the shared goal.
Mm,
And so in collaborating, there are going to be some things that you think should be done that we should probably do. And on the other side, there's going to be some things that your partner thinks this might be a good idea. The key here with communication being the undergird is that we have to learn to make shared decisions. And shared
okay.
decisions come from conversation. Now,
Okay.
it could be that we shared or, jointly decide that, depending on your dynamic, I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
cover everybody,
Be mindful. Mm-hmm.
man the head, we come to the shared understanding that we're going to both offer insight, but whatever you think is best, that's the route we're going to take.
Mm-hmm.
If the man says, well, it ain't got to be on me, it's going to be, we're going to come together, have a conversation and a dialogue, and then whatever your mama say, that's what's going to happen. Oftentimes what takes place is men are relegated to 3 words: ask your
Come
mama.
on.
And mama kind of handle everything. You know what I'm saying?
What did you say the 3 words? I ask your
Right.
mama.
Ask your
That's
mama.
the
Them are
three
three
words.
words. That's it. Where's you at? Go ask your mama. Because at the end of the day, a mama ain't happy everybody get in trouble. So go ask your mama, ask your mama, ask your mama. And then what ends up happening a lot of times is that the mama gets like, why you always coming to ask me?
Right,
I
right.
keep asking you
Mm-hmm.
the same time. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to learn to, at least if we're going to have a dynamic where one person seems to lean heavier on the decisions, there
Mm-hmm.
should at least be an opportunity, or we should at least take the steps to endeavor to make sure that it's collaborative effort. Where are we going to go to school? What type of schools do we want to go to?
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything special? Are they going to do extracurricular activities? Are they not going to do extracurricular activities? Are they going to get involved in this? We're going to do that. We're doing Girl Scout. Any of those things need to at least have a discussion, because
Mm-hmm.
what happens is, and now what we're talking about is mutual respect. And if a person just is railroading and making decisions and not considering their partner, you have a breeding ground for
Mm-hmm.
resentment, for
Yes.
aggravation, for frustration. And
Yeah.
that's an
Yeah.
entirely different scenario.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this is why these 3 C's are important, because you should be doing these things before another human enters the picture.
Yeah. But as we discussed,
As we discussed, we know it
we
doesn't,
typically do
we
it the
don't know
other
it
way. We
like
have
that.
the little
But
human.
and I'm saying
Yeah.
that now for anybody
Mm-hmm.
that's listening
That
to you
has not, that is in that product, because there are some people who are going to
that are,
watch this
that
and
are
they are
prepared.
going to say, hey, I want to be able to have healthy children
Right.
with my partner at some point, and so let me look at this.
Yep.
So I appreciate that you're saying prevention is always going to be better than
It is.
intervention, people.
You're absolutely
So
right.
if you can lay that foundation to pick that partner who is going to be able to sit with you and talk, because one of the biggest complaints I get from people is, I bring this to my partner and they say, well, you make the decision. And there isn't a discussion, even though I'm trying to promote a
Yep.
discussion. So, what would you say to people who are like, hey, I'm trying that, Dr. Cook? I'm trying to have this be a shared understanding and the decision making, and it not be me. Because I get resentful on the side of making all the decisions, just like I can get resentful on the side of not making any of the
Hmm.
decisions and feeling like, oh, my only role is discipline or money or right. So
Hmm.
how does one engage a partner who may have felt disempowered previously to be able to build in this shared understanding?
You caught me because I was about to be petty till you said they might have felt disempowered. I was on the way to Pettyville.
Were you
God
on the way to pet? Well, not, but
had you real me.
okay, all right, all right, okay,
I
all
can
right.
look out the window over there if you
Okay,
want
I
to.
just want
Oh,
what was your petty gonna be
my
first
petty was
before we
coming
go into the
before,
to the
before you said the person who may feel disempowered and not feel comfortable sharing. I was going to say for anybody who, and I'm actually going to address both sides because I know this is a huge
okay.
frustration, particularly moms to dads. It's a
Mm-hmm.
huge frustration, particularly moms to dads, at least in my experience. That's what I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Never stop trying.
Okay. That's good.
Never stop trying.
Mm-hmm.
But if I can be candid,
Please and thank you.
save your petty for the back end, not the front. And
Okay,
this
say
is what
more.
I mean. This is what I mean. Hey, um, we're thinking about the taking, little boo boo to Disney World or whatever. She wants
Mhm.
to, she needs this or something. What do you think about that? I don't know, whatever you want to do. Well, but I know, but I'm just saying, like, what do you think is a good idea? You know, I mean, whatever I'm good, whatever you think. Petty up front is saying, okay, so when I do this, don't go talking about it. I don't want to hear
That
you.
is petty up front. Mm-hmm.
Petty up front.
Mm-hmm.
Petty on the back end is why you do that? Hey, I asked you. You didn't offer what you're offering now prior to the decision being made. If I remember correctly, you told me to do whatever I thought was best.
Mm-hmm.
What I thought was best. Well, that ain't best. That ain't good. I understand. So the next time, I would love to hear your ideas before we set anything in motion. You don't have to say that to the exact script.
Mm-hmm.
Say it
Mm-hmm.
every time. At some point,
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna click, and they gonna say, "I need to offer some input on the front."
Mm-hmm.
Because some
Mm-hmm.
things, um, you won't move the needle with a lot of fire. If you're
Mm-hmm.
going out for
Mm-hmm.
saying, "Oh, they're gonna just say well, whatever," and then first chance they get because they won't get back when it doesn't work out, they're gonna come.
Yeah. And tell
You
you.
doing all
Yeah.
this, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, if you, this is the part that probably gonna ruffle you a little bit. Collaboration is about having a conversation to come to a shared decision.
Mm-hmm.
If I ask you for your input and you don't give me any, we had a conversation. And if we decided that I
Mm.
was going to make the final decision, guess what?
That was in fact collaboration.
What you cannot do is come
Mm-hmm.
3 years down the road talking about you never
Mm-hmm.
listened to me, and I'm consistently asking you
Mm-hmm.
all the
Mm-hmm.
time. So my advice would be, as aggravating as it may be, try to ask more times than you do not,
Okay.
because you never want to make it look like you're removing the opportunity
Mm-hmm.
conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I always want to extend it,
Mm-hmm.
even
That's
if
the
it was
assumption piece.
yeah.
Like you just gonna say it's my decision, so I'm not
Yep.
even going to
Yep.
bother asking
Yep.
you.
Don't do that. Even
Mm-hmm.
if you feel that you won't get anything out of it, go through
Mm-hmm.
the exercise anyway. Because if you do that, it will never be said that conversations aren't being had before decision.
Mm-hmm.
And for the person that feels disempowered, because there's some people on the extreme other end of this spectrum who try to offer input and they aren't heard.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Um, I'm
Absolutely.
going to say first, again, you move the needle better with a little bit of honey than you do with salt and all that kind of stuff. Try to have an what I call emotionally discharged conversation. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
like to eat, sit still somewhere, say, hey, I'd like to talk to you about da 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 da.
Mm-hmm.
And then have a conversation, talk about how you feel these things. Now, there are two things that can happen. The optimal thing would be an acknowledgement of your feelings, that you are heard, and the person says, I understand, and I'm not going to do it anymore, or I will do better. That commitment gives you a certain piece of, I don't want to say leverage, but it gives you a commitment that you can hinge on the
Mm-hmm.
next time you feel that you aren't being heard. Hey, not throw this in your face, but remember we talked about this and you had told me you were gonna, at least kind of get my input.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're met with a lot of adversity every time, I would suggest that we maybe look towards getting a mediator.
Mm-hmm.
That could be
Mm-hmm.
a licensed professional or someone that you guys trust to kind of come in and see if they can translate and get some things to understand. Because at that point, I would like to understand why it is that the partner that doesn't want input, why they
Mm-hmm.
don't want input. Like,
Right.
what's the
How did
problem?
we get here?
Yeah,
Yeah.
why are
Mm-hmm.
they so protective
Mm-hmm.
that even you, the person that they love, that they
Mm-hmm.
love
Or
them?
co-parenting with, yeah, that
Yes,
at the very least we have this shared love for this child, even
exactly.
if, we may not necessarily feel the same
Right,
way about each other when we had the child.
right. And why can't we
Mm-hmm.
sit down and make joint decisions
Mm-hmm.
about what's going to happen, or at least sit down and my input? Because sometimes a person doesn't always want you to do what they want you to do. Sometimes they
Mm-hmm.
just want to know that they had input in the situation, that you
Right,
just at least
right, right,
consider their option.
right.
It's not always about being a robot or,
Mm-hmm.
somebody just, it can be told what to do. Sometimes it's just about, I just want to feel like you heard me.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you
Mm-hmm.
choose to do it or not, I just want to be able
Mm-hmm.
to say,
That
well,
I matter, that I was able to show up in this way for my child because that's important to me as well as to
and
be able to be a present parent.
We parented, not you.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
not
Yeah.
you parented, but we parented.
Right.
And
Right.
so
Absolutely.
that's what the collaborative piece is
Okay.
about. It's about taking the time to discuss together
Okay. I like it.
how we're going to move forward.
All right. Let's hit that third C because
I see.
yeah.
The third is the fun one. That's the compromise.
Okay. All right.
And we know a compromise is nothing more than an agreement to reach a settlement. So in that case, some people are going to win. Some people, excuse me, in that case, everybody wins, everybody loses. And what I mean
Mm,
by that is everybody's going to give up some, everybody's going to gain some. We're going to
mm,
come together, meet in the middle, and we're going to move forward. Compromise often requires, at times, a series of conversations and not just
mm,
this is where compromise is important. It allows for the load to be shared,
mm, mm,
allows for a
mm,
shared load, and
mm,
not for one person to feel burdened by everything.
mm, mm.
I am huge on pressing against roles in the house. I know a lot of people like roles, and if you like
People
roles,
do like roles. It makes them
yeah,
feel comfortable and safe because that's what they
if you
saw
do,
growing up.
and if you do, I'm gonna sit with
Mm,
you in that space, and we're gonna talk about whatever contract you and the person that you're sitting in front of me with have. But if we just talking about an open-ended space and I can kind of, wave
mm.
my wand and put some stuff together,
Absolutely. Mm,
I'm gonna tell you, we're in 2025, and quite honestly, we have not revisited the roles
yeah.
since
Yeah.
our environment and society and the norms were healthy for the roles that we keep trying to reach back for.
Come on,
Money,
sir.
money,
Mm,
in the same way in at the turn of the century as it does now.
mm,
Get away with maybe one income, which allows
mm,
the other person to stay at home,
mm,
do their thing. Society normalized that the man was the one that went out and did everything, and the woman
mm,
stayed at home. That ain't quite how it worked now. I saw
mm,
the educated and the men, they spent time playing and kind of doing some things. Brothers are educated too, but what you end up having is we want to live in 2025 like it's 55.
yeah.
It's not. And so what happens is you end up having women who, quite frankly, and in some cases, quite allegorically, appropriately, feel oppressed.
Yeah.
I said,
Mm,
I don't mean to have beaten them, but I'm just,
mm,
from a comparative standpoint, they feel oppressed.
mm.
You got to go to
Yeah.
work 8 hours. Some of these women
Mm. Some
are
10, 12.
Man, listen, some of these women are
Mm,
shot callers at the
mm,
job. They kind of doing it,
mm.
making it happen.
Right.
Then you come
Mm,
home and you're expected to be all the things. Now, don't get
right.
me wrong. If anybody could do it, women, y'all could, because we got
Mm.
plenty of Wonder Women that are
We
running
don't
around.
like that role though. We don't.
And I was just about to say, the thing
Yeah.
about it is, and if you've ever been an overworked employee, you're gonna feel this phrase just because
You
you
are.
don't mean you should.
Absolutely. That's a word right there.
It doesn't mean you should
Mm,
all the time.
mm,
You understand?
mm,
And we've been uh, 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 we've been inspired on all levers to be
mm,
all that we can be. And so, if that's the case, a lot of people are going to move in certain dynamics. Now, I'm saying that because, like for instance, as an example, in my house, my wife travels like a lot. Like she doesn't travel as much now, but when we first had our daughter, maybe around year two, maybe she was on the road. Like she was moving,
mm,
getting it. And I remember she had to travel. She had to travel somewhere. She had to go somewhere, and it was a lot going on at the time. And so she was headed out to go to Ohio. And somebody made a comment to me, and they was like, "Man, I don't know if I could just up and leave my baby, and just go home." And I get petty at times, and I caught
yeah.
myself. That's because you ain't got a me at your house.
Right. Because I got this.
This person was whole married. They were whole married. But this is
Got
why
this.
you ain't got a me at your house you can
Mhm.
leave the person with. Because at the
Right.
end of the day, I'm a parent. I'm not a dad.
Right.
I'm a
Right.
parent. And a
Right.
parent gets it done.
Parents.
I learned to do a little fro
Get
situation.
get the hair together.
Don't get me
Hmm.
wrong. I ain't doing no silk presses
You
and
know
nothing.
that's all right.
Look,
That's all right.
look,
We
look,
like a little fro. We
I'm gonna,
like a little
like,
fro.
I'm
We
gonna
like a
teach
little
you how to
ball.
do
We like a
it.
little
Man,
puff.
listen. We
Hmm.
had a whole crash course. I went to beauty school here. She was like, I'm gonna show you how to do this and do that.
Hmm.
And she would be gone. And me and baby girl at the house, we mixing it
Hmm.
up, making it
Holding it
happen.
down.
But what I didn't do was say, well, I gotta go to work. And when I get home, I'm gonna be tired.
Mm.
You can't go and be
Right.
the
Can't.
who you
Yeah.
need to be.
Absolutely.
You need to be here at the house
Combing
because
hair and yeah, cooking
and,
meals and cleaning up and all the stuff.
don't get me wrong, there's
She
nothing
does
wrong
that
with
too. I know. We
yeah,
all do it together. It's
there's
shared.
absolutely
Yeah.
There's absolutely nothing wrong.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
But if we're talking about compromise, what I'm
Right.
really talking about is not so much the averages, but the exceptions.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna run to different points when we get super.
Mm,
When we
yeah.
both tired, who gonna do what?
Who gonna do what? Because it's still gonna need to get done, and we're both tired.
Still need to get done. And if I got a little bit more energy, I go and do it.
Mm-hmm.
If she has a little bit more energy,
Mm-hmm.
she'll.
Or we'll
But what
tag
happens
team.
is,
Hey, you do this, I'll do that.
and
And
usually when
yeah.
we're both in an extenuating circumstance, that's when we want to start pulling out rule books. Well, I'm the
Right.
you, you
According to
need
this, it's your turn
you need to make that.
to right.
That's not
But you
compromise.
started this off by talking about challenging some of these roles, and I do think that that's the default setting when life gets stressful, because life is going to
Mhm.
get stressful, and this speaks to the balance part of
Mhm.
you're still also my partner, so I
Mhm.
have to balance this parenting and this loving relationship with my partner too. When we're tired,
Yep.
when little one might be having a lot going on and we taking her all over the place, and
Mhm.
or maybe she's not feeling good and we got to navigate doctor's appointments and all of that, like all of the rules still apply even when
Yep.
those things are going on too.
Yes, yes, they do. And I'm gonna be honest with you, man. My heart goes out to, and I'm not even saying this in any measure of shade or anything. This is literally an esteem. My heart goes out to all single parents. Mom,
Mm-hmm.
my heart, literally. I
Mm-hmm.
applaud you because as a parent, I know what it is when you can barely move and
Mm-hmm.
baby want to play,
Right.
and you
Right.
are their entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
The advantage
Mm-hmm.
we had, at least with the partnership or the compromise, we could at
Mm-hmm.
least rock, paper, scissors, who's gonna score.
you
If it,
you take one for the team now. I'll
let me
tap
tell you
in
something.
about an hour and a
Look,
half.
look, everybody should have a certain set of governing laws. Ours was at times, if we couldn't figure it out, we both raised good arguments. Okay, best two out of three. Let's go.
Rock, paper, scissors.
I don't want to hear it. Whoever wins,
And that's what
whatever.
it is. Winner
That's
takes
two out of
all.
three. Because at the end of the day, that kid doesn't know.
Mm-mm,
I
they
need
have
to
no
go here. I
idea.
need to do this. I need
Yeah.
to make this
Mm-hmm.
happen. These things need to happen. That's the only
Yeah.
thing the kid better cares about. And there is a such thing where, you're still human. You're still going to
Mm-hmm.
get tired. You're still going to be irritable.
Absolutely.
You're still going
Absolutely.
to not want to be bothered with any
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
no human, whether it came
Mm-hmm.
from you or not. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? And
Mm-hmm.
so it's in those extreme moments where compromise is very important. And you
Mm-hmm.
don't set these agreements in the middle of the storm.
My God.
You have
Mm-hmm.
to set them before
Mm-hmm.
so that when you're in the storm and emotion wants to take over, you can at least govern based on the contract that
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That we've
that's
already practiced, because whatever we practice becomes our process. And so
right.
now this is habit for us because we've been doing it already.
Exactly. There has
Yeah.
to be something that we're going to base this off of. There has to be
Mm-hmm.
something, some place, some foundation, some document, and it doesn't have to be necessarily written down, but something
Right.
that's mental between the two of us.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be what I like to call our rules of engagement.
Mm-hmm.
We can refer back to and say, okay, remember, this is what we said. And we have to respect it. You can't change the rules in the middle of the
Mm-hmm.
game.
Right, 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 right.
You got to
Like how
sit there.
y'all be doing with Uno. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Depending. Uno is regional for real.
It is. It
To
very much is.
the point
Yeah.
where we
Mm.
don't want to hear what Uno Incorporated
Cause,
has.
cause they did tell us we're not supposed to be stacking. We
They
are
can,
stacking in the South, buddy. We're stacking.
I better not meet somebody that play by the rules. We're gonna have a whole. I will
You
lay
can't even
all my.
play. Like I just don't
When I
even
tell
feel like
you,
you need to play with
I,
me.
I will put all my cards on the table at one time. Let them line up. I'll let you say Uno.
Yeah.
It's spread.
I'm not even playing with you because you're
I'm
not
gonna go.
even
I'm gonna go get something to drink. You work this
right,
out.
right.
Get
You
them
you you
cards
play some solitaire with these Uno cards.
and draw them cards on your way out.
Right.
See, yeah, I'm gonna do
But now
that.
as you talk about these rules of engagement,
Mhm.
where do they come from?
Each other,
Okay.
communicate.
Okay.
That's where they come from. The
Okay.
thing
That's
about
where they come from healthy.
yeah,
But
that's what
where did they come from
before
before?
initially. Okay, prior to a conversation, they come
Mm-hmm.
from the training you received as a child when you were in your house.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, train up a child in the way that they should go, and when they get old, they will not depart from it unless they are encouraged to by someone that they have a conversation with for the sake of joining to move forward. You're going to default to the environment that you come up in.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a natural occurrence. You're going to do what you saw mama did. You're going to do what you saw daddy did. If you didn't see daddy or mama, you're going to do what you saw whomever you idolize do. You're going to do that first. That's just social
Mm-hmm.
one.
Yeah.
Like you,
Whoever was there in a primary part of my life, I'm gonna do what I saw them
whoever
do.
you focused on. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
you
Mm-hmm.
laid there Set your lens on. You're going to do
Mhm.
that first. The rules of engagement are adjusted based on experience, based on who it is that we invite into our lives and our environment, and how
Mhm.
we choose to discuss these things going forward. Which is why it's important to have these conversations and understand how a person grew up and be free enough and open enough to be able to say, I don't think that was healthy,
Mhm.
but not necessarily putting your dynamic over the other, but just sitting down and saying what worked and what didn't. And you got to be open and honest enough to say, well, we used to do that, but I ain't really like it.
Mhm.
I'm just, we did this in my household, and you're going to take
Mhm.
the good, the bad, and the ugly and throw it all in the bag when we have the choice to take the best from each
Mhm.
in and make it work. So the rules of engagement that originally will come from the environment you grow up in. But as we move forward, we can establish different rules, adjust those rules. We can revise those rules via conversation and experience. Of course, we're going to try everything up front. Once we see what works and what doesn't, we go
Mhm.
back to the table and say, okay, we're going to do it like this. We're going to do it like that. And that's an ever evolving thing because we're all always changing.
Okay. Okay. So as we get ready to wrap up, um, two things.
Mhm.
One, how do you keep this partnership going, right? So for those people who this is their partner that they're currently raising this child with, and maybe not a separation or a divorce or right? Like how do I engage my partner while I'm working on being a parent? And then what are some of the like parting, hey parents, if you had to choose three things, what would be those important things that you would want to
Okay.
impart on a child?
Okay. Well, first, with the partnership, don't forget about the people in it, which is each other.
Mm,
Very easy to put all of your attention into the goal, which would be raising the child, that we forget about those that are contributing to it, which is each other. Uh,
mhm,
your your vertical relationship, which is going to be parent to child, is only going to be as great as the horizontal one, which is between
mm,
the two of you. So you
okay.
want to make sure that you keep that going, which means sometimes if you can't find moments, you got to create them. Period. You got to have some
Mm,
time, decompress, talk to each other, have
okay.
some discussions, and not always have discussions about the kid.
Right, right. Or what needs to be done in the house, or
Right,
like,
right.
yeah.
Sometimes so
Mm,
how are you doing?
right,
What are you up to? Last
right.
time you did this. Well,
Mm,
take dates, have some
mm,
conversations, talk about some
yeah,
things, and
yeah.
remember the person and not always see the parent.
Mm,
Because what
mm-hmm,
happens
mm-hmm,
is you wifey, you babe, you this, you that,
mm-hmm,
and the kid come in and now you mom.
mm, mm-hmm,
You dad.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there's a certain bit of mental activity that takes place
Mm-hmm.
like mom.
Right, right. That's different than bae or
Different.
wifey or husband.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Certain. Now
Mm-hmm.
some people you get to a point where you can kind of blend the two together.
Mm-hmm.
Mom or that daddy, but a lot of times if it's just mom and we're just doing
Mm-hmm.
roles,
Right.
then things start to kind of wane out a bit. They start to
Mm-hmm.
fall
Mm-hmm.
south. What ends up happening is you end up putting that energy into the kid. Uh,
Right.
real quick before I move to this, and this is important. Um, I forgot who it was. It was a conversation I was watching, and another conversation I had with a colleague of mine. We were talking about how um, you spend all this time giving. If you've only got so much energy to give in your reservoir, let's just say your affection reservoir, and you
Mm-hmm.
give all that to the kid. When they
Mm-hmm.
come home and they want some affection,
Mm-hmm.
like, that's
Mm-hmm.
because you gave literally all of
Everything.
without even thinking about it. It's not even
Mm-hmm.
bad things.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of men
Mm-hmm.
and the mama she always loving on the son or the daughter.
Right, absolutely.
You don't
Yeah,
have
yeah.
nothing for me, and the mom like, what are
Mm-hmm.
you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason why is because it's kind of seamless in its transit
Mm-hmm.
because
Mm-hmm.
your affection meter is overflowing,
Right.
whereas they're still starved. And
Mm-hmm.
affection can sometimes not have a respect of person. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Affection is
Mm-hmm.
affection. Especially, men is a little bit different. With us, affection means sex most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's true.
I mean, it is. That's the truth. Yeah.
It's
Uh-huh.
true. It just means
Mm-hmm.
sex. But women, affection can be, I spent some time having a deep conversation with my girl.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We hug,
Mm-hmm.
cry.
Mm-hmm.
things can translate from a parental to parent child. That,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Man, he can go play with kids all day. He gonna want to have sex. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
you
Right.
have to figure out ways to still meet in the middle and do those.
Right. Yeah.
My
That's
three.
good because I do think some people sometimes people get offended when a partner for them that is what the intimacy and the connection is for them is sex, and they're like, that's how you ain't, I don't want to care about it, right? I'm come down, I'm a piece of property, and a piece of meat, and yeah, right. But so that understanding of like, okay, two things can be true at the same time.
And that's what it comes down to. That's what it comes
Right.
down. And again,
Hmm.
y'all, we slow. We ain't layered like that. Like we know how to romance and everything. We kind of do what we
Mm-hmm.
do. But I mean, if you look at it just from a metaphysical standpoint, study standpoint, whoever you listen to,
Mm-hmm.
they've told men. I can't think of his name right now. I'm thinking Grow Rich Napoleon Hill. They even talked about how you take that libidinous energy and put it
Mm-hmm.
into purpose. And if you
Mm-hmm.
do that, it helps you to be more successful. Which is why they tell you stay away from women, don't be in the sex so much because you're going to have a drive. And if
Yeah.
you discipline that drive, you can do
Mm-hmm.
things on the up.
Multiple things with using that same drive that came from the libido as opposed to it
Exactly.
just being focused on sex.
Exactly. But that's a
Hmm.
conversation for another day. Let me get
That
these
is, go ahead.
things. Okay.
Hmm.
So remember you're raising an adult, not a child.
Hmm.
So doing so, there has to be a healthy dynamic where you teach them to express themselves without being disrespectful. Um, there are kids that grow up and they do not have a healthy relationship with authority because their parents rule with too hard of a fist. Don't
Hmm.
be like that. I ain't one of your little friends, this and this. The kid doesn't understand the difference in authority. They just say, well, you're bigger than me, so I need to just take everything you say. And
Yeah.
so what happens is when they grow up taking everything from everybody else. So you want to learn to find a balance in that.
Hmm.
Second, always find time for each other. Always,
Hmm.
always find time.
Hmm.
Always find time to have a conversation, do something that's going to
Hmm.
continue to keep the same fire that produced that kid alive
Yeah.
so that it can
Hmm.
raise the kid because the child
Hmm.
is watching everything.
Absolutely.
They're learning not only what a
Absolutely.
healthy family looks like,
Hmm.
but what a healthy relationship looks like
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
what it is that you're modeling in front
Hmm.
of them.
Hmm.
Also, don't try to be perfect all the time. The child is
Hmm.
watching you. They're being trained by you. They need to learn how you bounce back from mistakes
Yeah.
and how you handle adversity
Yes. That's good stuff. That's good
disappointment and all
stuff.
these different
Yeah.
things. They need to
To see you
see.
cry, to see you feel, to see you
They
struggle,
need to see you
instead of feeling like you need to
struggle up.
protect them
Exactly,
from
because
that, and
they
then
need to
they don't know
learn.
how to deal with it.
Right, they need to learn to handle adversity.
Absolutely.
Keep them
Absolutely.
from all of it. They want
Mm,
a healthy blueprint
right.
in order to deal
For
with it. So,
anything. Right.
and this is my last one.
Okay.
It might be a waste, but for people that got little kids, I tell
Mm,
everybody because I have a friend of mine, Dr. Gregory Trent. He's out in Vegas now. Good friend of mine told me this long
mm,
as I had kids. He said, "Listen, man, I'm gonna tell you something. There's an age your kid get around about 7 to 10, and it's like their brains don't work. So you would tell
mm,
them go in the room and get a belt, and they'll come out with
mm,
an iron,
mm,
come out with a shoe, they'll come out with some peanut butter, and you'll be,
mm,
what's wrong with them? Or you'll send them out and they'll come back with nothing and they don't remember.
mm,
It's because their brains are moving so fast and evolving and
mm,
that they don't get it. He was like, don't get frustrated with them. Take
mm,
your time and guide them through that. And I'm gonna share that. I want that to be the last thing I say for anybody that don't
mm,
have kids that reach that age yet. If you got kids and they're like 15, then you understand where it came from.
mm.
But that's been my saving grace for these last 2 years.
Yeah. As
Kind
you're
of
navigating through,
oh,
as baby girl hit the double digit.
words have never been truer in my life than they are right now. I'll tell her to go do something, and I will literally say it, not even a period on the sentence, and
Mhm.
and it's not that she's being defiant. It's
No.
her brain
Like,
is.
yeah, yeah, like there's just a lot. And we have to remember the frontal lobe doesn't fully develop until
Mhm.
we're, mid 20s. And so they're literally lacking in executive functioning skills.
Mhm. This is
However, the part of the brain that's impulse, that's desire, that's drive,
jumping,
that's
jumping, just doing what they
it's
want to
like
do.
it's like let's get it, let's party.
And,
I want what I want when I want it.
yep, and I'm gonna
Uh,
do it then.
right,
Forgive me for that point.
right. Like I ain't the consequences. What are those?
And I'm gonna add that and put an A on this one. I'm huge on the development, Erickson's model of development, the
Mm-hmm.
crisis. I'm huge on that. Always remember that your child is always negotiating something as they develop. They're negotiating agency. They're negotiating being on their own. They're negotiating safety in different areas. There are all these different things that they're always negotiating. You have to be careful how you interact with them when they're in these
Mm-hmm.
crisis states, because if one of them is missed or off, it hurts their identity formation. They don't grow up with the confidence that other
Mm,
kids have because you were too harsh on them when they played with the makeup that's your favorite.
mm,
Or when they went out in the street, you didn't tell them this is why you don't go in the street. You just beat them.
mm.
Then
Right.
they grow up and
That.
they can't
Yeah.
find themselves. They don't know who they
Right.
are. Always remember you're raising an adult and you want to handle them that way so they can be healthy when they grow up.
All
That's it.
right. So hit them with the repeat of the three C's.
Three C's: communicate, collaborate, and compromise.
I want to thank you so much, Dr. Cook. It is always not enough time, and so much to get into. But you drop a lot of nuggets on people, and I appreciate your being able to just, bring, like you said, the Instagram points together,
Mhm.
because they will go into reels. Thank you so much. I
Yep.
appreciate you.
Okay.
So we have been talking about laying the foundation for partnership and parenting. And I think Dr. Cook gave you all a lot of good nuggets. Go back and review. It's a lot of information, and sometimes we're missing stuff, and the points that go over your head. So go back. That's why it's on Facebook. That's why it's on YouTube. That's why it's on your listening platforms. That's why these reels will be up. So you can have these points to study. I like what Dr. Cook said about the prevention piece. If I can catch you before you have children, that way you can lay the foundation. But if you're already in that space, that doesn't mean that you can't hit them with the A words, because you hit them with the acknowledge, you hit them with the accept. Go ahead.
You can't adjust. You can't adjust what you want to address. You can't address
Mhm.
what you want to acknowledge, and you can't acknowledge what you want to admit.
There we go. There we go. Right. So being able to live in that space will allow you to be able to realize that you're never stuck. And I
Mhm.
think you had said one time we start from stop. So even if you stopped, that doesn't mean that you have to stay stopped.
Nope.
That you can start from where you stopped and continue to progress. So thank you everyone for joining us tonight. This has been the Designing the Relationships You Deserve series. I'm sure we'll be doing some more lives moving forward. You all get on the Tea Time with Dr. Tarver pages and suggest some topics, and I will do my best to be able to hit you with some people on lives moving forward. It will not be in March, people. Do not be messaging me talk about you ready for a March live. It won't happen. But I may be able to get you in May for Mental Health Awareness Month. All right. Everybody, I want to thank you as always for watching. And I like to leave you all with making sure that you be well. All right. Appreciate you, everybody out there, for listening. Appreciate you, Dr. Cook. Everybody take care. Good night.
All right. Good night.